Good morning, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, a very, very busy week this week.
Got the FLW Tour in the... Well, I smoked my shin on the metal underneath the table just now, and I was trying to be...
what?
The metal bracket. I hit my shin on it, and it's coursing through my body right now as we speak. It's just poor timing, Mark.
Horrible start to the show there, but that's all right.
Anyway.
No, a very, very busy week.
Yeah, we got the Tour and the Elite Series going on.
Yeah,
Lake Travis and Kentucky Lake. No, they did
Can't
that. There's
stand it.
3 times this year. That's like half the FLW Tour season, and a third of the Elite Series season is on top of one another.
One of these days, these guys are going to get into a room, and they're going to sit down, and they're going to act like 2 very professional entities, and they're going to try and get things worked out to where guys can fish both tours if they want to. Would that not be great?
It would. Who's more at fault here? FLW
I don't
or
think
Bass?
I'm not going to blame anybody. What I'm saying is it is my opinion that effort has been shown and demonstrated by one of the organizations to try and make this happen. That I do know for a fact. Now, I'm not talking about they went to a summit meeting and they had representation. I have no idea whether or not that took place, but I do know that phone conversations have taken place over the years to try and work things out to where guys can fish both tours. It's the anglers that suffer from this.
And even if you have a guy who fishes both tours, he's still only fishing 17 tournaments a year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's fishing 40 weeks out of the year. It's still only 17 out of... How many weeks are in a year? 52?
Very good.
That's not very many. There's 52 weeks we can fish this thing. Now, the way the FLW Cup is structured, I guess you could do a golf-style wraparound season that starts in the fall and goes, or Bass could do the same thing, but...
I'm not blaming. There is no blame on anybody.
It just sucks.
I'm just
saying sucks for everybody.
It's unfortunate that at the beginning of the year, I mean, why could we not have the ICAST summit? Both entities are at ICAST. You get them into a conference room. You say, look, guys, all right, I know FLW is getting ready to announce their schedule. They always announce their schedule at ICAST. Let's get this worked out. Let's have a little... sit down and try and get dates to where everybody that wants to fish both tours can do that.
Well, was it David Williams won the same day that Kevin Van Dam won his 25th tournament?
Yeah.
That's just not fair.
No, it's not. All right, a lot to talk about. We're going to have our good friend Joe Opager
on from FLW. He's going to talk about Kentucky Lake, and I got to give him credit. The FLW Tour is not shying away from the carp talk.
Oh, hell no.
They are actually making it part of the equation. Now, granted, it is a bit more of a factor this week, seeing as a lot more guys are looking out at the ledges. I've been watching the FLW
but there's nothing
nightly
out there.
Recaps.
There's nothing out there.
There's plenty out there. There's
just the
millions and millions
wrong
of pounds
there.
But they do a great job of doing a daily recap at the end where... they have, guys meet him at the ramp and kind of ask him straight up questions. Like, are you catching them? What are you on? They go out with the guys, and the carp is a massive factor. Mark Rose, depressed. Randy Haynes,
a lot of people
depressed.
Yeah, it's not good. And if you didn't happen to catch the Mark Menendez show that we did on Friday, you need to go back and listen to the replay because a tremendous amount of insight on what's going down at Kentucky Lake and the entire country was discussed on that show. Mm-hmm. So go back there. Yeah. All right, Matthew, we're going to have Joe on here in about 15, 20 minutes. A lot to talk about. My list is long. I'm going to save the best for last. But I got to mention last night was one of those nights, dude. I was channel flipping all over the place.
You watch a lot of TV.
I do not.
Like.
All right. I really don't. I mean, how often do you walk in here and the TV's on in the studio?
When the stock market's not doing well, it's on
it's
every
on
single second of the day.
All right, it's not on right now. Everything.
So the stock market must be okay.
Good. I think it's down this morning. Anyway, I haven't even looked. But last night you had Vegas and Winnipeg going on.
Great game.
Which was just unbelievable, man. I was going back and forth. You had the Golden State Houston opening game in Houston, where all this hype about that, oh yeah, Houston's going to be the dude. Everybody knows that is listening to this show how much of a basketball fanatic I am. That was one of the worst games. I spent very little time watching that game. I was so pissed off.
Didn't even know it was on.
It is just horrible, horrible, bad basketball.
Didn't even know the NBA playoffs were still going.
By the way, I really, really like the Boston Celtics. What's up on the wall right there, Matthew?
An autographed Larry Bird jersey.
That's right. Go green. All right. And then you had the WWE going on.
You can't group those.
With
you
all
can't
the
group that
dude,
into.
I'm talking about my viewing desires and entertainment from a TV standpoint. And then I'm stuck on this new show, and you probably know why, called Lakefront Bargain Hunt. Have you ever heard of this show?
Is it like House Hunters for people who want to live on the lake?
Yeah. It's very, very cool. So it was an amazing television night last night. I was channel flipping back and forth, but the most of my time was spent on the Vegas-Winnipeg game.
That was an
incredible hockey game. And man, playoff hockey, people talk about it. If you're not familiar with the game, if you really want to see intense action at the highest level, I don't think there's anything better than playoff hockey.
I kind of want to go to Winnipeg. Those people look like absolute nuts up there.
It was so cool. Now, you know who the former Winnipeg team is, don't you? They didn't have a team.
Carolina?
Atlanta. No.
Or the Thrashers?
Atlanta moved from Atlanta to Winnipeg. But the original Winnipeg team is now currently what NHL team?
Phoenix.
Correct. All right. And did you know that Bobby Hull actually played for Winnipeg when they were in the WHA?
I did not.
There you have it. I actually knew something that you
I just
didn't.
remember Teemu Selanne shooting the mustard after he scored that goal.
Yeah.
Where, he tossed the glove up in the air. And
yeah.
I did that. I did that move in youth hockey after it happened, and I was benched for a game.
Yeah. Did you really?
Following that.
Get your ass over here. That's pretty funny. All right. The other thing that was on this weekend that I want to mention real quick, there has been a number of requests for me to go into my manifesto. The manifesto is about 90% done.
It's still applicable, isn't it?
What I saw this weekend, I'm gonna try and do it next week. Because what I saw this weekend, have you ever watched the PBA League?
Yes.
Did you watch any of that this weekend?
No.
Dude, so entertaining. Here's the thing. I don't care if you know anything about the game of professional bowling. If you turn the channel on that, and I had one of Mark was actually over to the house. I had one of Mark's friends who knows nothing about bowling. And I had to go do something with the Sherwood Forest in the back. And I go, here, man. I go, you want to watch this? You want to turn the channel?
Sherwood Forest, you got one tree. Keep going.
There's a big tree, though.
And you paid, so you didn't tell me you had 7 people and we got one guy with a chainsaw to come help you. Dave had to tell me that. You pointed to the tree and said, look what I did this weekend.
I got a bad shoulder. I got bad shoulder,
You didn't tell me that. Then you also didn't tell me you paid someone to haul it off. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. You are a woodsman.
Right, anyway,
you are
they were in the house.
Jungle explorer.
They were in the house taking a break. And I went back in there, and they were still watching it. And he's like, man, I didn't even know this existed. This is cool. I'm very intrigued. And a lot of what my manifesto involves is there's some similarities in what the PBA is doing with this PBA league that we're going to discuss hopefully next week.
Okay.
The next item, I never really stopped looking at my list, dude.
I can't even read your handwriting.
Okay. I had no idea about this. If you ever really went in and looked at the payouts in a PGA event,
yes,
Were you surprised, or were you like, wow, I had no idea?
I thought it was about what it should be.
Okay, for the first time in a long time, I went in and looked at the payouts for the TPC.
Yep.
Leader got $1.9 million.
They never talk about that, ever.
I know.
All they do is hammer home the fact, well, they didn't after they dropped it from 5 to 300,000, but they just hammer home the fact, $100,000 and all that stuff in the fishing, and they never even mention the money except when it gets to the FedEx Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So last place earned $19,900 bucks. But
last place in the field or last place
field.
Who made the cut?
In the field.
Well, this was a
specialty.
Specialty.
All right. $19,900.
Yeah.
10th place, there's actually a tie. There was a bunch of people tied for 11th. They won $225,000.
The reason I know all this stuff is because I went in and I think Vice Sports had a documentary on caddies, and I've done a lot of research on like how the caddies make their living and stuff, and as far as percentage and the win and all that. So I kind of had a concept of what the purse is. Yeah.
Jason Duffner, I don't know if you watched any of it this weekend. He 3-putted on the 18th hole. Cost him $762,000.
He's going to be even sadder than he normally looks.
I had no idea, man. We talk about these guys out on tour that ounces.
That cost him $10,000. Jason Duffner's like, get out of here.
Yeah, that 3-putted on 18 cost me $760,000.
Oh, he was an ounce away from $10,000. That's how much my steak costs.
Dude, I had no idea. Yeah. No idea. I knew it was up there, but I had no idea. Yeah. All right. The next thing on the list, dude, something took place yesterday that we're going to spend hopefully 5-10 minutes talking about. I have no idea if Joe is even going to comment on this, but a huge ruling from the Supreme Court yesterday. Do you know anything about this?
Absolutely. That state legalized gambling now.
That's not true.
Or you can gamble on anything?
That's not true either.
It's open season on gambling. There's sports books.
Do you know what the Supreme Court did on Monday?
It had something to do with that, didn't it?
It's basically, it comes down to a case that New Jersey has been fighting for a long time.
Is that the Chris Christie deal?
He's not governor anymore,
but that's
what
when
they
he started it.
Yeah.
See, I'm educated.
This may have, and I may be the only guy out there in this entire country that might think this, but this could potentially have a huge impact on professional bass fishing.
Well, because now you can legally bet on pro bass fishing.
Hang on, all right? And I've talked about this on this show numerous times. And when we do the classic odds, we do the classic odds show, I have spent time talking to management at sports books in Vegas as to why you do not take betting lines on professional fishing. And most of the time they come back and they say, hey, look, man, we don't know anything about it. We have no way of setting the lines.
Is that called capping the field?
Yeah. We just don't. We're not going to mess with that.
So let me ask this. So like, whatever, a sports book, do they pay someone to be like their in-house odds setter?
It's analytics.
So they've got guys who know everything that's going on and nerds and insiders, and they pay them all, and that's how the betting line is set.
Absolutely.
And they probably make very good living.
They make
as long as they don't jack up too bad.
Yeah, I mean,
okay. So anyway,
you're held accountable.
Right. So they would have to hire someone for fishing.
And they don't want to mess with that. Now, hear me out on this. When I saw this ruling come down from the Supreme Court, basically the tribal casino communities are the ones that I believe are going to jump all over this. I actually have a friend who is a marketing director for one of the tribal casinos.
You know all sorts in the sketchy underbelly of the betting world.
Sketchy.
You got friends everywhere, huh?
I just know people.
Got, people in
there's
Vegas.
Nothing sketchy.
People at the Indian casinos. You're just on the inside.
Dude, there's nothing sketchy about that.
You just walk in and you're already comped.
This is a very, very reputable sports media person here in the Oklahoma City area. All right? Anyway, the tribal casinos are going to jump all over this. And right now, it looks like there's about 32 states that already have things in the works from a legislative standpoint to try and get this passed. So basically, if you were to go into our local tribal casino here, which is Riverwind, and Riverwind, the Choctaw Nation, decides, you know what, we're going to put in a sports book. They can take action on any individual or team sport that they want as long as they obviously have the parameters to set the action and set the line. So now all the difficulties that you've had in trying to get Vegas to set a line simply become, from an educational standpoint, dude, they're not going to want to mess with it. Vegas doesn't want anything to do with professional fishing. But
Oklahoma might. Texas might.
Alabama is one of the states that really wants this thing to roll. Obviously, the leagues, Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, they don't like it. They have fought this for years. The NCAA wants nothing to do with it. But now, in a lot of the research that I did, some of the leagues are actually saying, okay, if this is the way that it's going to be, I want my cut. So the expectations are, and the anticipation is, that if this thing gets going in a lot of the states, they're actually going to take a percentage, the leagues are going to take a percentage of the action.
Okay, so let me just clarify this. Let's say Oklahoma decides, let's say Riverwind, right? Because they'd be able to. Says, man, there's enough people, we can make money on professional bass fishing.
Boom,
Bassmaster Elite Series.
They can do it.
So let's just say 500,000 is put down. So they have an expert, they get all the odds and stuff. 500 or say 500,000. Let's say I go in, I can bet on Jason Christie if I wanted to now.
Yeah.
So however much is bet, a portion of that goes to Bass. So Bass is making money then, and then if he wins, you get your money back.
Yeah. Well, obviously,
I mean, would you do it like horse racing? Would there be like the trifecta and the perfecta and all that?
It's just like the way that they pick golf.
So then you could also do prop bets. So you could do over under winning weight.
Yeah.
Over under number of limits.
And the states are going to control all of the number of sports books in each state and everything. But the relationship, like here in Oklahoma, between the state and the tribal casinos. Here's the other factor. When this thing went down, this is the first thing that popped into my head. What recently, and I don't know about FLW, and I failed to do my homework on this, but recently Bass has engaged in a number of sponsorships with who?
TNT. That's a true answer.
Come on, Matthew.
Liquor.
What are we talking about?
A number of casinos.
They did the deal down. Casinos.
They did the deal in New York. No, not New York. In Minnesota, and they did the deal in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and what they do with the Classic, the Hard Rock.
Oh yeah,
the Hard Rock was big into it. So now, obviously, there's a connection. So if the states have a great relationship, and they do here in Oklahoma, with the tribal communities, the casinos, dude, they're gonna roll with this one.
I'm already betting on Strader.
All right, they are gonna roll with this one. Now, it's up to them to determine what wagers will be in place. But as the action that is being generated now by the leagues, is this an opportunity, if this does happen, for Bass and FLW to say, you know what, if this is going to happen, hey, we want to be a part of this, and we want to get a cut. The other thing is that I thought about, and I have no idea whether this would ever happen because there's so many factors involved, but there is a huge possibility of it happening because of the Supreme Court ruling on this. Now, here's the other thing. Why haven't either of the organizations got involved with either FanDuel or DraftKings?
I mean, I know you know the answer because you've spent hours digging into this.
I don't know. I've tried and tried and tried on this one. I have no idea. Would that not be another way? Because it's quite obvious with all the numbers that they throw out about fantasy fishing, that could potentially be an additional revenue stream.
Do you think that people, that they shy away from professional bass fishing because of the element of randomness in it? I mean, it's very hard to actually set it, and there's a good chance, you're going to have a lot of guys that are way, astronomical odds. I mean, even the favorite in order to legitimately like put money down on it, the favorite would have to be some pretty steep odds.
Maybe, but I don't know. But the opportunity for fishing to finally, it was never going to happen before. Vegas was not going to do it. Mm-hmm. But now with the Supreme Court ruling, the door has opened up that if a casino wants to form a betting line for professional fishing.
Why don't you call up the casinos and ask them about this? Just as a concerned citizen to be like, I saw this law pass. I was wondering if I'd be able to bet on this upcoming derby up here.
I'm going to.
Does the tournament have to take place in that state?
No.
So it could be, you should call up Alabama, the casinos in Alabama. They have casinos in Alabama, right?
Yeah.
And ask them, hey, there's Mark Jeffries here. I don't put down a Ben Franklin on Wesley Strader.
Think about how tight-lipped the guys would be if this situation actually evolved.
Why would they be tight-lipped? Why does it affect them at all?
Because if they're really on them,
they're going to put money on themselves?
They could, or they could tell their wife, or they could tell their parents, they could tell whoever, hey, man, go drop 500 on me. I'm catching them. I mean, you can. There's all kinds of different factors. The point I'm trying to make in this situation is, if betting was ever going to get involved, wagering in casinos, in professional fishing, the door has been just blown off the hinges.
That's an interesting thought, Mark.
Agreed?
It's an interesting thought.
I don't know. Fantasy fishing is huge, but why hasn't...
Is it huge, though, compared to other fantasy sports?
According to the numbers that everybody throws out there, you have millions of people doing that.
You can tell how many people play fantasy fishing because you can see what number you are.
So how many are there?
You're in.
Just thousands?
Yeah.
There's not millions?
No. Not even close.
That's probably why they don't want to mess with it.
There was when Hulk Hogan and they were giving away $1 million, all the professional fantasy players and all the other sports were in it.
Yeah.
Because they were giving away $1 million.
I'm really interested to see, and I don't know, obviously, I don't want to put Joe on the spot, but it would be...
He's the director of PR. His job is to field questions.
It would be interesting to see what both organizations' thoughts are on wagering on professional bass fishing. I've actually reached out for bass. I sent Dave Preck an email to see if we can get a comment from him.
They have to see your name in the subject line of the email to go.
Is it not a journalistic question, though?
Here we go again.
Is it not a journalistic question?
No, it totally is 100%. It's very valid. It's a very interesting theory. It could, generate a lot of revenue. It could change things. It could...
I mean, because over in Europe, you can bet on everything. I'm shocked they don't have a line over in Europe.
On the carp tournaments?
And stuff. Yeah. It's crazy.
They might.
It's crazy. All right. Just kind of my take. I was kind of fired up. I just wonder, with all the relationships that take place in the bass fishing world and the casinos, whether or not that could even come to a point where wagering would exist on professional fishing. So, man, that's about it. That's my list right there. I kind of came at you from all different directions, Matthew.
Here's a deal on Gambling 911 from the 2009. Have you seen that?
No.
I just Googled, can you bet on bass fishing? It said, bet the Bassmaster Classic at sportingbet.com. Odds maker David Main said sportingbet.com is the only online sports book to take bets on the Bassmaster Classic, which runs on the Red River in Shreveport. Greg Hackney is the favorite at plus 1,000, followed by Kevin Van Dam at plus 1,200, Matt Herron and Scott Rook at plus 1,400.
What year was that?
2009.
And where was that at? Like overseas?
No, sportingbet.com today.
Huh.
Oh, sportingbet.com.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. All right. Wesley Strader, hottest dude in professional fishing right now. It's pretty amazing. How many people have done that? Won back-to-back events?
Denny's done it. Kevin's done it.
Anybody else?
Klon?
Maybe.
Not very many.
Don't know.
Back-to-back events, yeah. Events, I don't know.
And the style and the way that his game is formed, Strader, has anybody ever won 3 in a row? Van Dam done it?
I don't know if he's won 3 in a row. I think has Denny won 3 in a row? For some reason, his name keeps popping up in my head. You know, Mark Rose won back-to-back tour events last year. But he was the first one to do it with FLW. But you remember when we had him on, that Hellas deal that he's sponsored by is like, that's their home quarters down in Austin. He fished it with the FLW tour last year. He's going to have an advantage down there. He's super hot. Now, the question is, if they're not eating the Bango blade at Austin, he's kind of screwed. but you never know.
Yeah. Somebody's saying that Roland won 3 in a row.
Probably.
Don't know. Maybe. All right, we're going to take a break, come back, talk a little Kentucky Lake and anything else with our good friend Joe from FLW. It is a Tuesday, everybody. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The most versatile fishing machine on Earth. Unparalleled resolution and clarity, with more agility, lightning speed, and brute strength. HDS Carbon takes rapid response performance and screen technology to an all-new level. Maximized power, maximized visibility. See Structure Scan 3D, new dual chirp sonar, new live network sonar, and more mapping options, all at the same time and faster than ever before.
Pros depend on hydraulic jack plates to get the best out of their boats. Do what they do. Demand Atlas performance. Atlas gets you from the bottom to the top in less than 8 seconds, even with the big 4 strokes. And when you gotta turn right around and get that heavy load back up in rough water, Atlas's innovative design and American-made components will get you there with confidence.
I'm at Depot. Just look for yourself. There's an Atlas jack plate on just about every professional's boat.
The Atlas hydraulic jack plate. You can depend on it.
My rods look different because they are different. Every rod is built by the pros and for the pros. When you pick up a white Duffet fishing rod, you're getting a cutting-edge rod, one that's truly pro-driven, with the actions you need for every bait category you fish. I put my name on it. It's my promise to build you a great rod you can count on.
Ducket Fishing, Micro Magic, Macro Magic, or White Ice.
Try them. They work.
When you are on the water, you need performance you can count on. Lowrance has been proving it for more than 60 years. Just ask our pros. HDS Carbon is the choice of champions. The clearest, most visible screens and killer new features like fish reveal and dynamic high visibility contrast ensure you catch more. Now is the ultimate time to get the best deal. Save up to $500 when you buy a qualifying HDS Carbon in the Ultimate Upgrade Sales event before May 31st.
Hey guys, Russ Lane, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro. Man, I am so excited to be joining the AFCO Pro staff. They got some really cool, innovative products to help you have a more enjoyable, comfortable day while you're out there on the water. Really stylish, great functional clothing. You're gonna love it. The thing I'm most excited about though is AFCO has pledged to donate 10% of their total profits back to supporting the conservation of our fisheries, and I am all about supporting a company that's about supporting conservation so that we can enjoy our bass fishing for a long time. Check us out, AFCO.
Jacob Wheeler and Tommy Biffle have a lot in common.
Flat bill.
The perfect shape.
You gotta love some light tackle.
I know I have a spinning rod.
I love my hammer crawl.
Biffle bug.
Rig.
on a hardhead.
Well, they could be twins. Bifflebug, hammer crawl, hardhead, from Gene LaRue.
Let me help you, man.
Let me help that hat.
Whoa, whoa.
There you go. I already look better.
When I talk about Sunline, I think of one word, confidence.
Sunline FX2 is what I use for all of my frogging and flipping.
S61 braid, which braid plays a big part in fishing line. Shooter, I'm going to use in those close quarter deals like flipping and pitching.
One of my favorite techniques in fishing the tournament trail is to fish offshore ledges.
We have taken the questions out of the equation.
Take my word for it. It works. It works, dude.
All right, we are back on a Tuesday, kicking off the week, a very, very busy week in the world of professional bass fishing. And we're going to be joined here, talk a little Kentucky Lake. Is this their second to the last event, FLW before the Cup? Is that right?
This is the fifth event? Sixth event.
Yeah.
Fifth event.
Then they have one more, then they have the Cup.
Is that right? I wish we had someone on the line who knew.
We do. I just off the top of my head. I like that their season is just, I mean, it just kind of boom.
I think that's the sixth event. There's one more because they go up north to
let's find out. Let's bring in our
St.
good
Clair.
friend. Joe, you there, man?
Ding ding, Matt, you're correct.
Yeah, because I was looking at it, and there's some like guys who are super screwed if they don't catch him this week. As far as making the Forrest Wood Cup, I mean, like guys that you're used to seeing every single year in the Forrest Wood Cup.
Absolutely, guys like former three-time angler of the year Andy Morgan needs to catch him this week because he's not exactly known for his smallmouth prowess. So St. Clair could be a bit worrisome for him, but obviously he's had some success on Kentucky Lake in the past. Quite a bit, and so yeah, there's definitely some big names that are on that.
Gagliardi, he's in 51st. James Watson, he's in 54th. The one of the unanimous picks for the Rookie of the Year, Todd Castledine, he's in 65th. Paulman, who won a tournament, he's in 78th. So yeah, this is a swing tournament. It's a big tournament.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, let's talk a little Kentucky Lake first. Joe, obviously with all of the preview videos and stories and comments by the anglers, the discussion once again is the Asian carp. And your anglers have been very forthcoming in commenting about how difficult the situation is to catch a good number of fish and better fish because of the Asian carp situation. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, it's extremely worrisome. I'm seeing all the same stuff that you guys are. You know, the pre-tournament videos and the coverage blog. Kurt Niedermeyer put out a great piece on our website yesterday. He wrote along with Clint Davis for A Day on the Water. And yeah, I mean, we're seeing huge schools of Asian carp and not a lot of schools of the 2 and 3 pound bass that Kentucky Lake has been known for in years past. So it's extremely worrisome. And then, yeah, as far as our anglers go discussing it, I mean, it's just kind of the reality of the situation this week. Obviously, Kentucky Lake is the home of FLW. We've been there many, many times over our 23-year history. And so what better experts, so to say, that can analyze the situation than the FLW Tour pros? I mean, we all saw the Elite Series a couple weeks ago out there and kind of what happened there. And then, now we're experiencing more of the same. And it's actually, a little bit later in the season, the fish should be out a little more on the ledges, but they're just not out there. The guys are discovering these huge mega schools of Asian carp. And so it kind of takes a lot of time during practice because they have to stop and check these schools because it could be the mother lode that wins the tournament. But we're seeing a lot of Asian carp, and it's certainly a cause for concern.
Matthew?
Have you talked to any of the guys that are fishing this thing, and you know, we talked about with the Elite Series, a lot of that was shallow. This is moving out more towards a ledge deal, which if you look at all the preview stuff, everyone was looking forward to getting there for the ledge deals. Have you talked to any of the guys who are supposed to quote do well in this tournament as to how difficult it is for them to find the fish?
You know, I really haven't since practice started. I mean, practice just started on Sunday, so guys have been pretty much on the water for the past 3 days. Today is the last day of practice, so I haven't really talked to them much. Coming in, you know, I mean, to start the season, we were expecting, I mean, we're there a little earlier than we usually go. We usually tend to go to Kentucky Lake mid-June-ish, so we're there about a month earlier than usual. But we were still expecting to see, you know, somewhat of a ledge tournament. I mean, obviously there'll still be fish to be found shallow, but that's what Kentucky Lake is known for. But obviously with the late winter happening this year, and you know, this Asian carp problem, just things are kind of goofy on the lake. So it's kind of going to be a different tournament than we're used to seeing. But that being said, kind of like we discussed just a couple minutes ago, like somebody's going to catch them. I mean, we're kind of hearing all of the belly aching that goes on prior to every single tournament. You know, nobody's ever on them. It's always going to be, man, I'm not sure if I catch a limit. But then there's going to be 5 or 6 guys that come in with 24, 25 pounds. So we may not see, you know, the sheer number of bass that we've seen on Kentucky Lake in the past, but I still expect, you know, the weights near the top to be pretty heavy.
Like I said, there's this tournament, then one more tournament up north left, and something that I'm interested in, and I know you probably are too. I know with FLW's push internationally, is the fact that in second place is Chris Johnson from Ontario. Now, he's been in the hunt for the Angler of the Year before, but you have to look if he can get through Kentucky Lake, which he has fished Kentucky Lake before in the summer. Has a chance to win Angler of the Year, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but for Bass or FLW, he'd be the first international angler to win an Angler of the Year title on one of the major tours, right, Joe?
Well, I can't
on FLW.
Again, I can't exactly confirm for the BASS side, but yeah, off the top of my head, we haven't had an international angler or even a Canadian angler win our Angler of the Year on the FLW tour. Of course, you know, on the Costa FLW series, it's happened multiple times with both Johnston brothers and the quite a few Canadian sticks in that Northern Costa division. But yeah, on the FLW tour, I believe that would be the first non-U.S. angler to win, and a great story.
All right, cool. We had Mark Menendez on the show on Friday, and obviously Mark being an angler who's fished Kentucky and Barkley for eons, very vocal, very concerned about the situation, not just on Kentucky Lake, but really across the country. And obviously some states have engaged litigation or whatever you want to call it to try and generate financial resources to battle this in some way, some factor. Wildlife conservations, state biology departments getting involved. But is it gotten to the point, Joe, do the organizations, both FLW and Bass, because this is such a valuable resource from a fishing standpoint, this goes way, way beyond just fishing from an economic standpoint. Have there been any discussions amongst the management to really see if there's anything that we can do as an organization to try and battle this Asian carp situation from an FLW standpoint?
Sure. You know, I watched that the Mark Menendez episode last week, and Mark had a lot of great points. I mean, it is extremely worrisome, and it's been happening and getting much worse, and is getting very badly very quickly. So that being said, this week has been an eye-opener for most of guys on the FLW tour that aren't, you know, the Kentucky Lake locals. We kind of hear the horror stories, but now that they're seeing them in person, absolutely, it kind of almost lights a fire under everybody. So that being said, I feel the FLW as a tournament organization does have a bit of a responsibility to kind of lead the way on this and kind of mobilize our efforts and mobilize our members to contact their local representatives. And the FLW Tour this week is going to raise a lot of awareness on just how badly, just as the Elite Series did a couple weeks ago, just how badly this problem has gotten and how how quickly it's getting bad. So we don't necessarily have a plan in place of what we're going to do yet, but we certainly can mobilize our FLW members and contact our local officials ourselves and kind of raise awareness through our tournament circuit and our anglers about this problem. And nobody knows what the answer is. That's the main problem. I mean, everybody's got ideas on what could be done, but that being said, something needs to happen, absolutely, and FLW can certainly step up in a bigger way after this event.
FLW live at Kentucky Lake this week?
Yes, absolutely.
It's great stuff, man. Really good job.
Yep, that will air on Saturday and Sunday, 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And yeah, Rob Newell and Travis Moran have done a great job. I'm hooked as well.
All right, I want to talk a couple other things here real quick. One, the FLW Cup taking place in the month of August, correct?
Yeah, on Washita.
Yes.
On Washita, Arkansas. Has there ever been any thought about moving that or rotating the Cup to a different time of the year?
I mean, sure, we've kicked around brainstorm ideas in just brainstorm sessions, but it's never been realistically thought of. There's a lot of benefits to having our Cup at that time of year. It's the end of summer, so we get a lot of family traffic and family vacations, kind of end of summer vacations. Guys that are traveling can bring their families to the event. They don't have to worry about the fall sports or school or anything like that going on. Second, I mean, it just kind of makes sense to have our championship event at the end of our season. It's kind of the culmination of the year, just like every other major sport. Now, obviously, on the BASS side, they do the Classic in the early season, and it's always a huge kickoff to the year and a lot of fun. But it's also a lot of fun to kind of end the season with that culmination at the end of summer with the Forest Wood Cup. And then, of course, the Cup being in August, it's during the dog days of summer when fishing is usually at its toughest for the year. So it's really a great gauge on, these tournament anglers' prowess. You may be able to catch them in early spring, but everybody catches them early spring. Who is the best angler when they really have to grind it out and earn those bites? So, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it. So for now, the Cup will be staying in August for the foreseeable future.
All right, I'm just curious. Obviously, you're not going to tell us, and I don't want to know. I'm sure other people would want to know. But has the selection process for the 2019 Cup already taken place, and is that site already selected?
I don't know that for sure. I can imagine, being that we're just under 2 months away from ICAST.
Yeah.
There's likely been a decision pretty much made. I don't know if the papers have been signed. It may be down to 1 or 2 locales that they're still trying to figure out some details on, but it's pretty well hammered down at this point. That being said, just as much as I do. I have no idea. I usually get the schedule about a week or 2 in advance so I can prepare the press release, but for the most part, they try to keep that stuff under wraps. Now, obviously, working with a lot of local convention and visitors bureaus and a lot of local anglers around the country, there's a lot of networking going on, and some guy may hear that, we're coming to their lake in February or something like that. So oftentimes a lot of stuff leaks that way, but I don't get the official word yet for another couple weeks.
So is the schedule, 2019 schedule, going to be announced once again at ICAST?
Yep, that is absolutely the plan.
I would love to see a straight-up giant smallmouth cup. Would that not be fun?
It'd be pretty cool.
Because you'd have like 5 or 6 guys that would jump off the winning fish. And it would just be, and plus, especially with the schedule and the way they do that, I know they go up to Champlain and stuff, but it would put a lot of people either in their wheelhouse or completely uncomfortable.
Yeah. No, you're right. Hey, real quick, Joe. Jake in Ohio wants to know. He says, ask Joe how often he randomly thinks about the Stefan Diggs catch versus the Saints.
I still have
He's cold-hearted.
And whenever I don't know, I just need to feel happy. I'll throw that back on. Just that last 40 seconds, absolutely. That was the Minnesota Miracle. But unfortunately, we kind of, blew it all that time because in the NFC Championship game didn't go as well. But big news on the Vikings front, though. Our friend Brian Robinson announced yesterday that he's coming back for his 12th season in purple, so that's a lot of fun. He's doing his charity bass tournament up here next month in June up here in Minnesota, and FLW will be helping out with that. So we were extremely excited to see that news yesterday as well. So congrats to the Vikings and Brian Robinson.
All right, very cool. Speaking of news yesterday, you mentioned that you were listening to the first part of the show. The Supreme Court ruling that came down. This opens the door for states and casinos all across the nation open to sports betting, and it also opens the door that if these sport betting casinos want to take in professional fishing, they have the right to go ahead and do anything that they want to do to set a line. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, as a gambling man myself, I think it's an awesome idea. I mean, I'm all about getting more eyeballs on the sport, whether it be just the entire sport of professional bass fishing. And I think something like that would only get more attention on us. So I think in that aspect, it's a very good thing. Obviously, there's a lot of issues that could come up. This being a sport where guys tend to pay their own entry fees for the most part, it could certainly cause some conflicts. As you're mentioning, guys telling their family and friends that they're on them and to throw a bet down and stuff like that. So I'm not exactly sure how it would be regulated or if it could be regulated. That being said, I was listening earlier and I Googled the article that Matt pulled up about them being able to bet the Classic in the past. And, I always, religiously read your odds article every year. And I think it's a really fun idea. So I'm all for it. There's certainly some negatives as far as, being able to regulate it, but it would be interesting. It would bring a lot of attention and eyeballs, and we'll see what happens down the road. Never say never.
Hey, Jeffries, you got to come out with the cup odds this year, like you do for the Classic.
Man, that's a lot of work. I mean, with the Classic,
as much work as
it's only 50 guys.
How many guys are in the Cup? Like 55?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's 54 this year.
Oh, heaven forbid we make you put odds on 4 extra guys, Mark. Jeez.
All right. I will put that on my list of to-do things. I will come out for the first time the FLW Cup odds.
You've got a couple guys, though, that you just, regardless of where they go, you are in love. You have some man crushes on some FLW guys.
Who's that?
Wendley.
I like Clark.
You pick him every single time, regardless.
I like Clark, man. He's a stick. He hasn't done a whole lot lately, but
I've got a little man crush on Clark. Nothing wrong with that.
He's a good dude. He's also a huge hockey fan.
Yeah. We've had him on and talked about that before.
Yeah, huge hockey fan.
So, Mark, one other thing I want you to add to your list as well. I know you kind of briefly touched on it when you had Thrift on the show, but let's get a one-on-one live going with Thrift and Airy. I mean, they're both down in Shelby. I know you guys got Dave Rush somewhat over in that area.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'd love to do that. I think that's one of the things that we're gonna work toward.
Awesome.
We're really trying to put together the remainder of our schedule. We had one cancellation due to weather, but definitely we are getting ready also to announce, Joe, one of your FLW most entertaining anglers, Mr. James Watson, is going to be putting forth an announcement here shortly about something that will be taking place that is very, very cool. So we do have some stuff going on.
Did you see that was a genuine concerned by Joe. There was a slight flash of panic across his face.
No, it's all good. It's all good, Joe. It's going to be really, really cool what he has in the works.
James keeps me on my toes, but he is a lot of fun.
Very entertaining. So we will get that going. All right. I want to talk, and I don't know if you can comment on this once again, but the discussion that we had earlier about the schedules, it's a shame that both of the premier professional organizations have events during the same week. Can you comment and say whether or not that efforts have been put forth by you and the management at FLW to try and rectify that situation to where when you announce your schedule, to where you don't have any conflict with the other guys? Have efforts been put forth to try and not make that happen?
I really can't, unfortunately. I mean, not that I can't comment on it. It's just that I don't know. I know that in past years, efforts had been put forth. That being said, I don't know if it's happened in recent years. The schedule is mainly made up by the operations team. They're down in the Kentucky office. They work closely with convention and visitors bureaus around the country and they're committed to returning to certain lakes at certain times a year, and those schedules are already in place. So the operations team job is to put everything together, and they start with our tour events, and then once we've got those lined up, then they'll move on to the Costa Series, and then they'll line those up and make sure everything aligns there. And then they'll have to work in the BFLs, and then the college series, and then the high school events. And we've got to make sure our operations teams are in place around the country to run these events. So then if we were to add in another series of events, trying to work that in can be a huge undertaking. So that being said, I know that the top level tours, the FLW Tour and the Bassmaster Elite Series, it has worked out in the past where guys, the schedule worked out where it didn't overlap. Guys were able to fish both sides. I don't exactly know what happened. I'm not in on those conversations. I'm not in that room, but I know it's happened in the past. I can't say that it's happened recently, but as a fan of the sport, I think guys should be able to fish both tours. I would love to see it, and never say never.
Joe, do you think your organization would be committed to getting in that room and sitting down across the conference room table and say, look, let's get this worked out?
I don't know if committed would be the right word. I'd say agreeable would be a good word.
All right.
Absolutely. Our executives talk back and forth quite a bit, believe it or not. So it's certainly a topic of conversation that could be brought up in the future.
All right, I want to go to the instant feedback real quick. Brian in Philadelphia wants to know, is FLW seeing an increased interest in the Costas after the Bass Open realignment?
It's kind of tough to say. I mean, obviously our Costa Series the last 3 years has really blown up, and I don't know if that's necessarily due to the Bassmaster changes, just because our participation was up big time even before those changes. Mm-hmm. That being said, we're midway through the Costa season as well. We're seeing huge numbers of participation. Our Southeast Division is basically full pretty much every single event at 250 boats. The Northern Swing is coming up here. That'll be a good barometer of how things are going. And, so I wouldn't necessarily it's due to any other organization's changes. I like to think it's, we run a great Costa Series.
It's due to you guys run a great tournament, and it's a badass schedule. Whoever puts the schedules together is thinking. They're not, seriously, as a local angler who has friends who fish all of that, when those schedules come out, and it's been for the last 2 years, we go, dude, did you see the Costa schedules?
Yeah, it rocked.
Oh my gosh.
Great job. Yeah. Great job, man. Great job on the schedule.
I can take no credit. Again, that's our
Joe's sitting there going, let's go to Table Rock, Grand, and throw in Rayburn.
Yeah. All right, man.
One's coming up on the Northern Swing, too. We're going to Lake Erie this year out of Buffalo. Pretty excited for. I mean, we've never been there. We haven't been there in my time, so it's been a while. And, of course, Champlain's always a lot of fun. So, the kudos goes to them. I will pass the word along.
How's the World's Greatest Deals app going, Joe?
It's going great. You guys got it downloaded yet?
I do. Do you?
Okay.
I don't.
Mark's not getting the World's Greatest Deals then.
No, it's usually cool when we travel for the FLW Tour events. There's always, a couple local deals in there that you can get a free appetizer, or you buy a meal and you get one free. So just a way to save a couple bucks as you're traveling around the country or at home. So if you haven't checked it out, it's free for FLW members. Download the app on your phone, and it just pulls up, local deals that are near you. So, World's Greatest Deals app. Check it out.
See how I threw that little plug in there for him?
He
didn't even know that was coming. That was completely out of the blue.
Very nice. All right.
Scott was a big fan.
Yeah.
Joe, a number of people on the instant feedback, they want to know, when are you guys bringing back Circuit Breaker?
Well, no immediate plans to bring it back, unfortunately. Kind of just, got stale a little bit. It got to be too much of a workload for Travis. I mean, obviously it's a great show, but he did 5 or 6 seasons of it. It's a lot of work. So he kind of got tired of it. So for the foreseeable future, no circuit breaker. Who knows in the future?
All right, Josh in Missouri wants to know, how about taking the Cup to Japan?
Oh, jeez.
Man, we can't get guys to go out west.
Right now, Joe's going, how did they know about that? Right now, everyone on Lake Biwa is going, oh, they know now.
I would love to travel over there for Forcewood Cup. That would be a lot of fun. Challenge would be getting a lot of you guys to come with for the media side of things, but who knows? Maybe they've got their own media over there. I'm sure that I'd be working with. So
I've never been to Japan. Have you been? Have you been, Joe?
No. I'd love to go.
You've never been to Japan?
No.
In all your travels?
Yeah, that's when I said I'm
all your
done.
Business travels?
No, man. When they tried to send me to the Pacific Rim, I
but
was
you
like,
never
that's
went over there
I'm
for
out.
like a meeting or?
No, done.
What do they not send UPS packages in Japan?
Oh, big time. It's just done, man.
My dad went over for Firestone, you know, about every year.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. All right, Joe. Do you do fantasy fishing? I always wondered.
Yes, he does. He has his picks on there on the Insiders
Well,
picks.
no. Hang on. What group are you in?
What do you mean, what group am I in?
Are you in a group where you're competing against a specific number of fantasy fishing players?
Well, I'm in a couple different leagues.
You could be in
classified a little differently at FLW Fantasy Fishing. We've got, leagues that you start with your friends, and I'm in a couple different leagues. We've got, the FLW podcast has their own league with a couple hundred people. Then I'm in the Pundits League, where there's the 5 FLW Fantasy Fishing pundits are all in our own league. And then, of course, we've got an internal staff league here, so I'm in that one as well. So I'm in a couple different leagues. If that
okay, yeah, that's it. That's my bad. All right. So how are you doing? What is your best performance in any of those leagues?
Well, not nearly as good as last year. I think I'm probably middle of the pack all the way around this year. That being said, last year I'm an FLW pundit, so I play my picks every single event. And there was one guy that played along with me, played my picks every single event, and he finished in 10th place overall. He won, I think it was a $250 gift card. He won a couple prizes throughout the year. So I have had some success in the past. That being said, I also do play Bassmaster Fantasy, and I am terrible at that.
That's funny. All right, give us the winner for this week, man. Give us your pick.
Gosh, you're putting me on the spot here. I'm gonna think I'm going to say Mark Rose. Mark Rose seals the deal. Even though he came through with his practice video with Jody and was a little disheartened, but he's having a great year. He's had a lot of success at Kentucky Lake. He's my pick for this one.
All right. Hey, man, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on and being a very, very
good sport.
Dude, you're awesome. All right, very honest with us, very open, and I appreciate that a ton, and I'm sure all the people listening or watching appreciate that also. I know you and I were working on something that hopefully will come to fruition here in the next month or two that I think will be very, very informative and give the fans a really good opportunity to hear from the leadership and really kind of hopefully get an idea on the direction and some of the things that are going forward from where you're at. But greatly appreciate you taking time to come on, man.
Well, thank you guys very much. I'm a big fan of what you guys do as well. I'm not really scared of any questions. I may not be able to answer them all. I don't have a lot of answers, but I can share what I do know. And I'm always a fan of you guys, and I'll always be back whenever you need me.
All right, man. Stay warm. Football season will soon be here. I know it's May, but it will soon be here, Joe.
Just told to stay warm.
Absolutely.
Huh?
Stay warm?
Did I say that? Yeah. Dude, I just got freaking Minnesota on the brain. I'm sorry.
Hey, last week, we do still have some ice on the lake up here.
Do you really?
Opener, but yeah, Odom Mille Lacs in some of the bays, you still can't get out of them yet because of the ice, but it's going to be gone in the next weeks. So.
All right, cool. All right, man. Have fun, Joe.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, see you. All right, there you have it, Joe. Dude, that's part of what's wrong up here.
It's
when
like
you get
90.
old.
But hey, it is Minnesota. There is ice on the lakes. You're forgiven for that one.
I'm an idiot.
You're forgiven for that one.
All right, what else, Matthew? You're headed to Travis.
I'm like literally leaving
as
soon as I put the headsets on the mic.
You got to get the replay out.
Well, that takes 5 seconds.
Yeah. So we will be doing a show Thursday. We're going to shoot for Thursday.
Is that traffic going to be brutal?
In some places, yeah. I mean, it's Austin.
Did you see Skeet Reese posted the goldfish? He saw goldfish during practice. Giant goldfish. It was like 4 or 5 pounder.
Really?
Yeah. He just put it out there on something. I think it's Instagram.
Did he catch it?
Guys are
he
catching
just saw it?
Guadalupe bass. Weird looking bass.
Yeah. It's going to be hot too. Triple digits, man.
It's 100 some degrees.
It's be super hot. So we will be back on Thursday.
Who'd you pick for Travis?
I don't remember.
I think he.
Do you have that list?
I don't know. I think I picked Strader.
Man, if he wins 3 in a row,
you want to talk about two guys who made the right decision? Wesley Strader coming over to the Elite Series.
Yeah.
Mark Rose staying on the FLW Tour.
Yeah.
Two guys who had been around for a long time who took different paths and both made the right decision.
No, you're dead on. All right, I want to thank Joe once again for being on. We will be back on Thursday morning live from Lake Travis. Not actually from the lake, but from where Matthew will be staying.
Oh,
you might.
No, I don't want to stick around the lake 3 hours after launch.
Yeah, that would be too much.
And go back, get some oatmeal.
Yeah.
Get set up.
We'll talk about what's going on in Texas. So everybody be safe. We'll be back on Thursday, 9 a.m. Everybody stay tuned.